Morning. And there is no God like Jehovah. And I want y'all to think about that for a couple of minutes. Um, so, Wednesday afternoon, I was getting ready to live stream our Wednesday night class. Come up to the building on Tuesday night. Had gotten some lights to kind of help out the lighting because I had moved all of my computer stuff to the house for a while we were trying to deal with sickness and all the things that were going on. So try to test things out. Things didn't look quite as good as I wanted it to look. So came up here, got some lights that we use, some stage lights kind of stuff that we use with some green screen and some other stuff, and took that home, got it all set up. Was feeling really good about streaming on Wednesday night, and a couple of days before that, just kind of out of the blue, I would have this pain. It's kind of like in my abdomen, and it's really, really sharp. And as that's going on, I'm thinking, man, that feels so much like a kidney stone. But everything's going to be fine. About Wednesday, about 4:30, I thought, this is not going to work. There is no way I am going to be able to sit up straight and teach a Bible class. I'm in pain. Now, this is not a medical definition. Okay, this is only a Greg definition. I want to explain to you the difference between a minor kidney stone and a major kidney stone. And I know some people would argue that there is no difference between those two. This is the Greg Smith definition. A minor kidney stone is if I can get into one spot that I don't hurt. Like if I can just find one way that I can sit or lay without pain, that's minor. Major is me lying in the floor just in incredible pain and dying, saying, do I need to take you to the hospital? Now, that's major. And we weren't at major, and we were just slightly over minor. And I could find this one spot on the couch where I could lay and I could get in just a right position, and it didn't hurt. And bless her heart, she's trying to take care of me. She was like, do I need to take you to the doctor? No. Can I get anything for you? No. Do you need someone? No. Just let me just. And I'm lying there on the couch, and I'm thinking, okay, there's definitely no live stream going to happen with this, right? So I text Jackie and say, you got to send something out. There is no live stream on Wednesday night. And as I'm lying there, and I'm kind of going through this. Oddly enough, I get this Bible verse that comes to my head. And I think I messed up when I did that. Yeah, there you go. You do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? Well, you're a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Because here was my thought. I can tough this out. I can make it. Because it is only temporary. It is only temporary. It is not going to last forever. The pain it's only there for a period of time. Now, I don't understand the body, don't understand kidney stones. I just know when those things move enough, they quit hurting. They get somewhere that they don't hurt anymore. And I'm like, yay! And I thought, if I can just get to that moment, it won't hurt anymore. So thankfully, somehow fell asleep, woke up later, and it's like pain's gone. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. But that verse stuck in my mind. You know, I remember when I first started reading the Bible as a teenager, not that we didn't go to church before then, but I was like a lot of other church kids, right? It's not like I got the Bible out every night and read the Bible just because I went to church on Sunday, right? Any of you like that growing up? And you're probably, oh no, we reread the Bible every day, Greg. Well, that's good, because growing up, that wasn't Greg. All right? But I remember reading this verse about your life, it's a mist that appears for a while and then it vanishes. Now, that circle on there is 245 West Main, Hornbeak, Tennessee. That, growing up, was my base of operation. I should have shown you another picture of that house, but the only picture I have is a really old picture of that house. Mom and Dad's house, the deed only says pre-1914. So nobody really knows when the house was built. It's pre-1914. That's pretty much all we know. And we have one old picture that it looks kind of pre-1914. But that was my base of operation. Now, the interesting thing about that base of operation, when I grew up, I loved airplanes. I mean, I loved everything about airplanes, especially World War II airplanes. But about 50 miles from that base of operation, there was Blytheville Air Force Base, where they had B-52 bombers. And there was an occasion where you could look up in the sky and you could see something that was so different than anything else. You knew, even as a kid, that is a B-52 bomber. And those 8 engines would leave this incredible contrail across the sky. And I'd be just like, wow, that is just so cool. And how long does the contrail last in the sky? Now, a B-52 bomber contrail, it'll stay there for a while. But you know what happens eventually? It disappears. And it's like that plane never went across the sky. I don't know if it's sunny or cloudy out this morning. It was cloudy when I left, but I could see some sunshine, so I don't have any idea what it is now. But if it's sunny, which I don't think it is it? Oh, getting a no from the back. When it gets to be sunny, you go outside and look. You see the contrails from the planes coming in and out of the airport? They'll stay for a while, and then they will disappear. And when I first started reading that verse, I thought, man, that's like a B-52 contrail in the sky. Now, in that little base of operation I had, there's this little, I don't know if y'all can see that. Can y'all see that little red box there? I don't know how to say this nicely. That is all that's in downtown Hornbeak. Okay? I mean, it's not like there's much in downtown Hornbeak. But where that red box is, there used to be a grocery store there. And that grocery store was called Darnell & Sons Grocery Store, and it was kind of my second job. I don't really know that I had a first job. My first job was picking up square bales of hay. Anybody ever done that? Okay, Lowell Sanders, and Lowell Sanders, Bob Alexander's dad, Mr. Alexander, when I was young, they let me pick up square bales of hay. And I think we got a couple of nickel, a couple of pennies, maybe even up to, I think when we got really good, we was getting up to a nickel a bale. Whoo! That's big money. But my first real job was Darnell & Sons Grocery. I don't know, 6th, 7th grade, $15 a day, all I could eat. It's a great job. Only worked on Saturdays. I'm a conspiracy theorist. And let me tell you how grocery stores work. I'm really only a grocery store conspiracy theorist. Well, it's a little grody than that. You'll understand it as I go on. On Saturday, everybody going to the grocery store has a phone call with each other to decide what time they are going to the grocery store so that they can all go to the grocery store at exactly the same time. And that's the way that it works. And it's called the rush, right? And when I worked at Darnell & Sons Grocery Store, we had the rush. You know the interesting thing about the rush? Doesn't last forever. Work really hard for a while, but doesn't last forever. Went and worked at E.W. James Grocery after Darnell & Son. You know what happened there? All the people called each other to find out exactly what time they were going to the grocery store so that they could all get into the grocery store at exactly the same time. And that's when you had real bags, and you'd bag it up, and you'd even take it out to the car. And the little ladies would tell you, now to make sure that you don't put anything on top of my bread, and make sure the eggs are in a separate bag. And, do grocery stores still do that? So they're good. They'd still take them out to the car? Okay, I'm going to start going there. So I don't have to bag my own groceries and check my own self out. I'm going to go to a different grocery store. Rush didn't last forever. I went to Lipscomb. Needed a job. Got a job at the Grand Ole Market on Hillsborough Road. I lovingly called it the Stop and Rob. You know the interesting thing about the grocery store? The interesting thing about the convenience store? Everybody shows up at exactly the same time. called the rush. I got tired of that, and I thought, I'll go to Shoney's. I'll work at Shoney's. Went down the street, got me a job at Shoney's. Very industrial, it's a great job, washing dishes. I was a dishwasher by choice. By choice. That's the job that I asked for when I went there. You know the interesting thing about a restaurant? Everybody shows up to eat at the same time. It's called the rush. And when you're the dishwasher, they want clean dishes so they can seat more people. And so you are caught in. You know the interesting thing about the rush? It doesn't last forever, does it? Got tired of Shoney's, went to Comdata. Anybody ever heard of Comdata? I think it was the name of this company. It was an interesting job. Truck drivers would call in and ask us to put checks on their account at different places so that they could get gas. Now, they didn't realize we had absolutely no authority, right? And so they would call in and they would say, well, how much money do I have? And I'd say, well, you've got $150 in your account. And they would say, well, that's not enough to fill my truck up. I need more money. And I'm like, I got nothing to do with that, buddy. You got $150. You can either have that or you have nothing. No, you need to get me more money. I can't get you more money. I am only the guy who's typing on this computer, filling out the form. That's it. And so they would yell and scream and cuss and fuss and do all other kind of things at me. And I'm like, look, you can say whatever you want, but the bottom line is I can only do what I can do. If you need more money, call your boss. Well, I can't call my boss. He'll fire me. Well, that's not my problem. Okay. Do you know the interesting thing about Comdata? Everybody calls at the same time. It's called the rush. But the thing about the rush is the rush doesn't last forever. So what is your life? You're like a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. And we go out into life, and some things look like they really are going to last a lot longer, don't they? Any of you out there who are parents ever had a baby who cried a lot? Okay. I mean, cried a lot. I mean, you don't even know why they're crying. You just know they're crying. Then you start to go to bed, and what happens? Oh, they start crying. Oh, and then you feel guilty as a parent. It's like, okay, do I let them lay there until they just quit crying, or do I go try to do something about it? I don't know what your parenting styles was like, but mine was like, I don't have anything. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. And then, okay, and then you've got the pattern, right? You know, and it's worse. I think it's worse on the moms and the dads. But, you know, I tried to help as much as I could, you know, so baby's awake, baby needs a diaper change, baby needs this, baby needs that. You know, you're just trying to feed the baby, make the bottles, and then you get in this thing, okay, we're making the bottles, we're feeding the baby, oh, it's your turn to get up and feed. In the middle of that, does it feel like it's going to last forever? And you're just sitting there thinking, if I could just get one night of sleep, just one night. But then, guess what? Things change, and it doesn't last forever. Only a short period of time. And you read a verse like that, and you're looking at that verse, and you're thinking, man, that doesn't sound very encouraging, does it? Your life, you're like a mist that's going to appear for a little while, and then you're going to vanish. That's not a really feel-good message. Okay. So then what? And you start looking around at life and you understand some things. You know, some things are difficult, but they're temporary. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world. But I have chosen you out of the world, and that is why the world hates you. That is why the world hates you. You know, as you go through life, I look at the news every morning. Some people don't look at the news anymore at all. I don't know what to believe in the news, so I read Fox News and CNN News and figure they both have it wrong. But I'll read both. and I'll read the articles, and I'll listen to the commentary, and I'll look out at my world in which I live. And I'll look into that world, and I realize for some reason, of which I know, and the reason is I do not belong to the world. I am a believer in Jesus. I know that the world is looking at things completely differently than I'm looking at things. And if I'm sitting around looking at the news thinking, I'll be glad when the philosophy of the news lines up with my philosophy, my belief about Jesus, and to be very honest with you, that is never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. The world is not going to have the same values that I have. It will not happen. Jesus describes Satan as the prince of this world. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, Paul writes about the God of this world has blinded the minds of unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel and the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. So I know that when I look into the world, there's going to be times that I am just absolutely frustrated. There are going to be laws that are put in place that I don't agree with, that don't follow my belief in Jesus Christ, that do not follow the faith that I have in who God is. That's reality. There are going to be, and this is not political in any way, okay? No government, no leader. I just don't belong to this world. This world is not my home. I'm just kind of passing through, right? But here's the thing. It's temporary. It's temporary. That's so hard for us to wrap our heads around. You mean this world is temporary? Yes, this world is temporary. No government will... When Jesus decides to return on the clouds, no government will be strong enough to say, well, we've decided it's not time for you to come back yet, Jesus. You just kind of hang on. He's just going to look at them, shake his head and say, guys, you better get ready for what's happening. Because when I decide that I am going to do the things that I am going to do, there is no thing, no being, no nation, no anything that can prevent him from doing what he chooses to do when he chooses to do it. Now, here is the coolest thing, and the reason I started with that verse in James. There are a few things that aren't temporary. They're not temporary. God is not temporary. He's eternal. Now, I have a hard time explaining that to you because, very honestly, I have a hard time explaining it to me. I go into life, everything I experience in life has a beginning and an end. It's the world in which I live. It's the nature of the world. There are people in my family who have died. We say they've fallen, I love Paul's language, they've fallen asleep. They've died. Things that I see in my world, they get old. Self-included, right? Self-included. They get old. I mean, you can even go and restore something, right? Like an old Mustang. If you restore an old Mustang and you make it look new again, does anybody have any idea what's going to happen in the next 15 or 20 years? Anybody want to take a guess at that? It gets old again, right? Because it's mechanical. It wears out. It's made out of metal, and metal doesn't last forever. It rusts. Doing everything that you can do to kind of protect it, right? It's not forever. Possessions aren't forever. And then you have God who is eternal, has no beginning, no end. Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. And you can't bracket that by anything else in life. Because you don't know anything else in life that is like that. God's truth is eternal. When you say God's truth, I want you to understand that when we're looking at God's truth, what we're looking at is God revealing His nature to us, and God's nature does not change. The reason it's wrong to lie is not because you're going to hurt somebody else. The reason it's wrong to lie is because it is against God's nature to lie. God cannot lie. And there are things about God's nature that cannot be changed. They're not changeable things. There are truths about the integrity of life, things that God has put into place. And no matter how many laws we make, we do not change the core of God's truth. Now, we can make a law that's different than that, but the law doesn't make it right. Because there is a truth about God that is eternal. Now, here's where it gets really, really cool. And this is me on the couch Wednesday night. Okay, remember, I'm laying there, I got a kidney stone, I can get into one place. I can sit there without pain for a while, and I think, okay, if I can just endure it to the end, I'm going to be okay. And if the kidney stone will just do whatever kidney stones do. And I'm laying there thinking, man, I'm just glad it's not forever. Not many things in this life that's forever. And then it dawned on me. It dawned on me. It hit me. You know what is forever? Me. I'm a forever. And you're like, Gregor, you just like went off the rails, son. No, I didn't. I'm a forever. I'm not a forever because I'm good. I'm not a forever because I'm created differently than anybody else in the world's created. I'm not a forever because I got a different chemical makeup or a different physical makeup. I'm only a forever because God has deemed me to be a forever by eternal life in Jesus Christ. But that makes me a forever. And then all of a sudden, all of the things in life that are going on, you know what? And I told you it's not political and it's not, America is not a forever. Or China. Or Russia. Or Great Britain. Or a political leader. Or a president. Or a senator. Or a law. I'm a forever. God, through Jesus Christ, granted me eternal life. You ever just thought about that? Just sit and think about it for a little bit. So you go out tonight and you look at the stars. You see all those hundreds of millions of stars. I don't know how many stars there are. Okay, so 100 million, that's exaggeration for the sake of emphasis, you know. And you go out and you look at all of those stars tonight, you think, whew, they're not forevers. But I am. I'm a forever. Our light and momentary troubles. Listen to this in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed. Yeah. Perplexed. Can't always figure everything out, but we're not driven to despair. We're persecuted, but not forsaken. We're struck down, we're beaten down, but we don't perish. Always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested, may be shown forth in our bodies. For we who live are always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our mortal flesh. So death is at work in us, but life is at work in you. So we do not lose heart. We do not lose heart. Though our outer man is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this, listen to the contrast, okay? Light, momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory which is beyond comparison. as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, they're temporary, but the things that are unseen are eternal. Did you catch that? Did you catch all of those differing words? Light, momentary affliction. Eternal, weight, glory. Because I am an eternal. So I look out into that life, and you ask, well, what are you supposed to do with that? You know, of all these people in the world that can live with courage, and that's why he says at the beginning and the end of that chapter, don't be discouraged. Of all the people in the world who can live with courage, you're the ones that can live with courage. Absolute courage. Now, do I know everything that's going to happen to me in this life? Okay, thank you, Roger. Roger's doing, no, Greg, you don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. Right, because that's the whole verse, right? You don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. No, I don't know. I don't know all the details, but I know the end. Eternal weight of glory. There are times in life that I feel like laying on that couch with a kidney stone because I'm like, I just about had all of this I can take. When you look out in the auditorium, what do you see? And I know, we're really shuffling, trying to figure out the live stream people and trying to do that, and the people who are here, and we love all the people who are here, and we love all the people who are listening on the live stream, and we're trying to navigate that and figure all of that out, and you know, and please pray for us as we try to navigate through what all of that kind of stuff looks like. And there's not as many of you sitting in here that normally would be sitting in here because of disease and COVID and all the other things that are happening. And again, that it's no, I'm not telling you to come back till you're ready to come back. So, you know, don't read anything into that. Do you see empty seats of people who used to be here and are not anymore? Because we do, don't we? Do you know that they're the eternals? Do you remember that? That they are the eternals? I hadn't been here very long. Okay, I got to quit. I hadn't been here very long. And I went to see Mr. Robert Lee one time. And I said, Mr. Robert, I'd really like to have a review. And he said, what? I said, I'd like to have a performance review. And he said, well, why? And I said, well, I'd like to know if I'm not doing something that you want me to do or places you think I could improve. And I'll never forget it. He looked at me dead in the eye and he said, if you're doing something we don't like, we'll let you know about it. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I think I did understand where we're going with that. You know Mr. Robert's an eternal. I mean, you realize that? Mr. Robert's just as much alive now as Mr. Robert has ever been because of his faith in Jesus. Joe Claude's an eternal. I thought about J.W. and Helen Knight this week. J.W., they're eternals. I thought about Joe and Jean. Joe and Jean are eternals. We're eternals. And we look at that verse and we say, yeah, you know what? Our life is just a vapor and we're just going to be here for a minute. And then it is going to appear and then it's going to go. But there is a part of who we are because of our faith in Jesus that when everything that we look around in our life, and we look at our world and we say, man, our world is so messed up. And I'll be the first one to stand up with you and say, it is absolutely messed up. But you know what? When this world is finished being messed up, Jesus Christ is still the same. And that is why we can live with courage. Knowing. Knowing that no law no government, no person, no philosophy, no ideology, no teaching in the school system. Nothing is greater than the God that I worship. And the God that I worship is the one who gives me life. So there is nothing in this world that can hold me back. And that is why a believer in Jesus in the first century would gladly give his life for the sake of the kingdom, knowing that giving your life for the sake of the kingdom is just a scratch on the surface of who you are in Jesus Christ. 1,000,000 years from now, I will do the exact same thing I am doing today. I will worship God. And I really hope that when I look around, and I'm not going to get to be an angel, okay? There's angels and there's us who are redeemed, so I don't get to be an angel. And when I look around and see the throngs of believers and the billions of angels, you and I will be there together doing the same thing because we are believers in Jesus Christ. Don't let the beauty of life escape you by forgetting who you are and your purpose in this world. That's why we have the ministry in jars of clay in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. The power is not us. The power is God. And if you need to trust in God, I'm going to ask you to do that while we stand and sing.
There is beyond the azure blue